And I think it's going to really change how people look at food, people look at farmers. And
For sure.
that's like our slogan is know your farmer, know your food.
Absolutely.
It's so important because if you know your farmer, you shake their hand, you know what they're doing on their property, you know what they're feeding their animals, you know what you're putting in your body and what you're putting your ingredients in your food.
Few things connect people faster than food. For me, it's the stories of the people behind the food that hit deepest. Their family legacies, how they made it through the tough times, and how they celebrate the good times. I am Ryan Armstrong, and this podcast will give you a face behind your food. It uncovers the honest and proud stories of the fascinating yet little-known sectors of the agriculture industry. Welcome to Farmstrong. All right, everybody, I'm really excited about our episode today. We connected, Francine and I connected yesterday via X, which has proven to be a pretty good app for connecting with people in agriculture. And her and her husband, Chris, have come out with an app called the Mulberry Tree. And I'm really excited about what she explained to me yesterday. And I really just wanted to give her a platform and share with everybody in the world what she's doing. I think it's going to do a lot of great things. And I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so we created Mulberry Tree app. We came up with the idea 2 years ago. Technically, it wasn't my idea. I woke up from a dream from it, and I really felt like God ordained and pushed us to do this. This is like right after COVID and the food insecurity problems that people were facing when they would go to the grocery store, that there wouldn't be food that they wanted, and things were in low supply. Things were difficult to get. People would have to buy in surplus because next time they go to the grocery store, it wouldn't be there. It caused a lot of problems and stress and anxiety for people. But then people wanted to started to going to their farmers, and other platforms were censoring farmers, and that was hurting local farmers. Where they were like, "We have the food, we have the support, we can feed our community." And unfortunately, a lot of bad actors in our country were censoring on certain platforms and getting rid of their groups and things like that. And so I really felt like this is the answer to these problems. And Mulberry Tree is a farm to fork recipe app where farmers can list their items without listing fees. And so if they have apples, they can just list all their ingredients that they grow on their farm. And then we have 3 profiles. There's food enthusiasts, there's chefs, and there's farmers. So the food enthusiasts can go on there as a recipe app. They see, okay, well, I want to make an apple pie and I don't want to buy apples from the grocery store. I want to buy them locally. And they'll go on the app, find the recipe, apple pie, order ingredients, and it'll say from farmer or for grocery store. And they'll press farmer and they'll list all their local farmers in their area. And then they message them and then they can buy directly from them. There's no middleman. The farmers get to supply their own inventory. They get to take their own payment. They can barter. They can do crypto like Bitcoin, or they can do cash. Cash is king to a lot of people still. So it's giving freedom back to the farmers, which is what is needed. And then we have the chefs, which chefs can make the profiles to make recipes for our community. And if they're verified, they get points within the system. They can redeem them for gift cards for money or for food. And then we have food enthusiasts, and if they're verified, they get to do the recipes, connect with farmers. And if they do the recipes, let's say they make the apple pie after, getting the ingredients from them, they take a picture of the apple pie they made, they upload it into the system, and then it gets approved, and they get points within the system, and they can redeem it for gift cards for food as well. Eventually, we'll have vouchers for farms, so they can use that money towards their farmers that they like to use. Farmers want to sign up for that. The other thing we are about to launch, hopefully this week or next week, is the farmers market, where farmers can actually sell live animals, because that is also banned on most platforms, where you can sell your sheep, your livestock guardian dogs, cows, chickens, hatching eggs, things like that. Right now, people do it undercover on Facebook, but people aren't getting fair market value for it because no one knows what the prices are. Because if they list prices on these groups, then they get flagged and get taken down. So
Wow.
people really don't have a free market because they have to have it hush hush and they don't know what their competing prices are. And so this will actually open the market of people knowing what is the reasonable prices in their area. And this will give a lot more freedom to farmers and to farms or people who are wanting to start farming, people who want to buy a full cow and take it to the butcher, because there's some laws you can't buy directly from farmers, but you can buy the cow and take it to the butcher. Same with pig or goats or anything like that. And so it's just going to create more of an ecosystem that we used to have before technology and before convenience was created with grocery stores in the late 1900s. I mean, the early 1900s, and then just snowballed into what we have now. And so this is going to open up so many possibilities for our country, which we're losing 77 farmers a day, and it's incredibly terrifying. So we're trying to bring back the power to the farmers.
No, I'm like so excited every time. Like this is only the second time we've talked, but I mean, I get more excited the more I learn about it because there's so many layers to it that you guys are hitting, and I think you're hitting on all of them. And I genuinely feel that this is what you guys are doing is kind of a paradigm shift. I mean, you're doing what it has to be done, but the main thing is, like we talked about yesterday and on the phone, is that you're doing it because it's the right thing to do, and you genuinely, like, you're living it, right? You're this isn't like you're a tech company from California. You know, you guys, can you shed a little bit of light on what you guys have going on at home so people understand that, you know, you're living what you're promoting here.
Yeah, so we actually my background is fashion, and I got in the fashion industry when I was 2009 when I was 18, and worked in the big corporate world, and I literally pu pushed my way in and knew everybody I needed to know in Portland, in Oregon, and I started working for a huge company doing fashion shows, doing the background, doing the business behind it. Put on one of the biggest fashion shows in Portland, where China came to America, and they were doing trying to get more of China and Portland to come together to do better fashion and having fashion houses back and forth that were not slave labor and things like that. That was a really huge thing to do at 18, and that put my foot in the door, meeting everybody I needed to know. And then I was going to college for fashion. I had to drop out because I had cancer. So it was this really crazy thing of like tribulation and just like pushing forward. I wasn't supposed to have children. And then 5 years later, I found out I was cancer free, and they told me, "Still can't have kids." And I was like, "Alright." And then I met my husband, and we ended up getting pregnant and
That's amazing.
having we're on our 4th child. We're gonna be giving birth any day. So that's really crazy. And so we stayed in Oregon, and I had to drop out of college, moving back to prior. And I end up just studying on my own and just learning to sew and sew and sew, and I was always sewing since I was 12, and I end up landing for a US company. It was a $1,000,000 company making wildland firefighting uniforms. I was the assistant designer, and I was also the pattern maker validation specialist, and I did like 5 jobs in one and working like 60-hour weeks. It was really, really strenuous. So I came from the corporate world, and I've always wanted to farm, and I was really into organic farming and permaculture. We always went to the farmer's market, especially when we had our first child. And I ended up quitting. It just wasn't in our cards for me to work 60 hours with a newborn, even though I took 3 months off. And then my husband finished his schooling, got a job immediately. And so I was able to stay home. And then the pricing of Oregon just got really crazy, and especially living in Eugene. And we were trying to find farming out there, not, and so we heaved our whole family. We had our 2nd child and moved all the way down to Arkansas in the Ozarks, and, scoped the area, bought a 21-acre farm, and my husband gets to work from home. His company let him stay, and then we came up with this idea after farming. Like I said, it was a dream, not my idea, and it's just been snowballing to what it is today. On our farm, I was doing Korean natural farming. I almost have my certification for it. Things came up. I have 1 class left, but we practice that on our farm and permaculture regenerative farming. We have 2 donkeys. We have about 30 goats now, and we let them free range on our property. My husband put all the goat fencing up, which was very, and it was during the summer, and it's really hot down here. It's
Yeah.
crazy. We have probably like 40 bunnies right now, maybe more. We have chickens, we have ducks. We had quail at a time. We had over 300 birds at once because I did chicken math and duck math and turkey math to defeat all the ticks on our property, because the people
Yeah.
prior
Yeah.
just ran cattle and sprayed and fertilized, which, destroys the ecosystems in your farm. A lot of people might agree with me, but there's tons of studies showing this creates tick blooms because it's killing all the beneficial bugs and other ticks are resilient. And so we end up getting alpha gal. Our whole entire family, our child almost died from it. It was really crazy. Thankfully, we're in remission now. That's a huge reason why we have over 300 alpha gal recipes on our app too to help people because a lot of farmers are facing this dilemma in our area and it's skyrocketing
Really?
more than Lyme disease. Most people are unaware of it, and you become allergic to not just mammal, it's mammal byproducts too, and it's a nightmare and a half. Some people get into anaphylaxis. My child was one of them. Like airborne, you can't even. It's like peanuts allergy. It's horrific. We had to stay home for like 6 months. This was all happening during the time we created the app. It was literally living through hell, a lot of tribulation.
Yeah.
But we pushed forward and continued and didn't wanna give up. So yeah, and then we got mammals right afterwards because goats are really good helping keeping tick populations down too because they get all the brush and
Mhm.
stuff, and we have really good land for goats. But yeah, we like I said, we're farmer owned and we're family owned. We don't have any crazy investors. We don't want any bad actors helping us or funding us or anything like that. We wanna keep to our morals and not sell out, which happens a lot.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of these other tech companies, they sell your data. We don't do any of that. You can delete your data when you want to. We're upfront and honest about all of our practices, what we're doing. But yeah, it's really needed in this country, what we're doing. Also have, like I said, this is just the MVP. We just launched last month. So there's going to be a lot more to our app coming forward. Once we get more users on and the profits are start coming in, we can start building more. But we do have courses on our app as well, which teaches people how to ferment, how to pickle,
Cool.
how to garden,
Nice.
how to do permaculture, how to make worm casings, things like that. And the best part too is farmers can add their expertise, their intellect, their skills on our app too. You don't have to be a paid user to do that as well. So you can do the recipes or the courses and list your items and things like that.
That's amazing story. Just overcoming all that and getting through that is, I mean, that's so awesome. And I think it's a true American story. And I think that what you're doing on the app is the most, that's what America is, right? That's why man, I just, kind of feel like I'm at a loss for words, but it's just it's what like you said, it's what America needs and it's what America is based on. So that's why I want to help any way I can and get the word out and promote it. Just want to take a little sidebar and say thank you for reaching out yesterday because I think it's a really big deal. Kudos to you and the family and your husband and everybody for overcoming all that because that
Thank
is
you.
yeah. When it rains, it pours, and it seems like in agriculture, it has been
Whew.
raining for a while. I feel like a lot of us that are, really trying to do the right things. It's been a rough go for a few years. Some of us longer than others, and you've made it. And I think it's paying off with this app.
Thank you. Yeah, it was it was a lot of guilt as a mom because it was my idea to move to Arkansas, even though my husband's family's here and stuff. And I was like, why did we do this? Why did we buy a farm? And like everyone's suffering. And like it was really, really, really hard. And it's very isolating too. Most people don't aware like when you have a sick child, how isolating it is because like especially there's not community anymore. It's mostly like online and people kinda get a weird, obsession or, like, they want too much into your life, and if you don't give them that, they don't want to be, like, supportive either, and I don't like to exploit our children. We try to keep them off, and protect them as much as we can, and so it was really difficult, and especially because we couldn't leave our house because my son had such bad fume reactions, and so it just in a way, like and not in, like, saying, like, it's a blessing or whatever, but, like, there was a blessing part of it because I was forced to stay home and I'm like I said, I used to work 60 hours work week, so I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, well, I already have the farm chores, the homeschooling done. What else am I gonna do? I don't wanna waste my time, just going on watching TV or thing like that." I'm a very busybody person, and so, um, it gave me the time to work on the app and keep thinking of ideas and keep pushing forward, so there
Mhm.
was a blessing in that part of building this and just researching and studying and just yeah, thankfully, he's a lot better and he's starting to thrive. He
Yes.
had some other issues with it, which that is very common. So he's doing a lot better, and that's why we decided to have another child. And so it is nice that things are finally turning around for us because it was a very, very, very hard 3 to 4 years living here. There were some issues too with most businesses when you start off,
Mhm.
and pushbacks, and we got screwed over a couple times, and we just kept pushing forward with that too, which that's everyone's story. But the successful businesses, when they get screwed over, they keep going. They're just like, "Okay, well, I'm going to push through this and try to figure out a way to make it work." The reason why a lot of businesses fail is because when they meet those problems, they just give up and they're like, "Well, I guess this isn't meant to be." And I really feel like God is just testing us to see how much we really want it, and it's not just about money. And like what we were talking about yesterday, money is a side effect of what we're going to be doing.
Amen.
And it's really nice because a lot of people on X, the grassroots movement who are supporting us, and they're like, "This is what we need to do."
Mhm.
And it's not just about, okay, they wanna be a social influencer in their name, they actually want to help feed their community, and that's what it's about. People are kinda tending to forget that because of social media, it's all becoming just branding, and we really want to fix our country because 'cause we're so divided. And people used to come together by breaking bread, and that
Mhm.
was, it starts at home. You cook at home, you're more likely to eat together as a family instead of you just pop something in the oven or the microwave. You're less likely to eat together because it's not as savory, it's not as you put all your love and
Mhm.
emotion in that. And when you do that, you get to bond and start community in your family, and then you're like, okay, well, I bought all my ingredients from my local farmer. That creates another ripple effect of creating community. And then you can tell other people, like, you bake bread from flour from you got from the local farmer. We have a farmer right now on the app who's selling flour he grows off his farm, which is
Cool.
awesome. And
Yeah.
so people are gonna buy his flour and they're like, "Well, I made this bread from this farmer, he grows the flour," and they're like, "Oh, that's really cool, it's really good bread." They're more likely to, buy from him just by word of mouth, and then it just creates this ripple effect, and that's what we're hoping.
That's very cool. No, I think to go back to when your first point there, a lot of us in this grass movement, at least this is my perception, tell me what you think, but you can tell a lot of us say this is kind of like a necessary evil, right? We're not, if it was up to us, like we wouldn't be on our phone, we wouldn't be on a computer, we wouldn't be doing these things, but it really is, it's the only way that we can gain traction and we can have an impact. So like I'm new to the X thing. I'm only like a month into it. Before that, I was, even when I had started my podcast, I was like, I don't want social media, because like you understand with kids, like it just pulls you away. And one of my big things is like I have to be present with my family. Period. Like that's number one all the time.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. That my husband doesn't do any social media whatsoever, he never has.
It drives me crazy, and like even when I pick up my phone, like I'm just like I've just it's just a constant struggle all the time, and every time when I pick it up and I have all these notifications or I'm dealing with something on it, or you get shadow banned or you get suspended, or it's just like, okay, all right, you have to remember why you're doing it and the impact that it can have. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, but I think something that came to mind when you were talking about the flour and the bread is think what's different about your app and what you're doing is that I love that you talk about ripple effects because I'm really big into ripple effects. That they're real, right? They really are.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I've experienced that. That's why I brought up my
Yeah.
past with fashion. It's like I met all the people who I was supposed to meet, and it comes
Hmm.
back to, okay, well, I met you when I was 18. Let me help you 5 years later. And I'm like, it's so crazy. Like, I even got a job. I used to be really into emo and metal music, and I've gone to over 300 shows. And I literally got a job because I went to this guy's band's show, and he's like, I know you. You were at the show, and like, there's a tiny town,
Yeah,
and you were so cool and down to earth. And he gave me a job because of it. Like,
that's
it
awesome.
was so crazy. And so it is like just putting yourself forward out there, like it does create these ripple effects and taking risks.
Yeah, it's like all the cliches. Sorry, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent, but like it's always it's old cliches, right? Like you talk about like failure is the key to success, right? You can't have success without failing because it just doesn't work. To put it short, saying please, thank you, yes, those little like those you're gonna run into somebody and they're gonna be having like the worst day of their life, right? And if you say thank you to them or hey, I like your shirt, like it can change that person's perspective and then it changes their trajectory, right? And then just to compound on the ripple effect thing. But what you guys are doing with the app, I really feel like it's creating feelings, right? Like people remember how they feel. And like you're talking about the bread and the flour. And I think that's going to be a really big deal is that people are going to go, okay, like this is things that I can relate to this person and I can share that I got it from this person, it's a real person. So I just wanted to touch on that. I think that's one thing that sticks out to me that seems like it's making a really big difference. And something that you said at the beginning really hit me pretty hard too was getting flagged or suspended or whatever it may be for doing like the most American thing ever, which is having a product and going to what you believe is a free market to sell your product. And you get there and they go, you put a price on this, you can't do that.
Yeah, or you're spamming, you need to prove you're not a robot. Well, there's like X is full of robots and bots, and it's like we were paying the most expensive other than the business one, the top tier for X. And I'm posting, talking to people, and I keep getting flagged for being a spam bot. And it's like, you need to prove you're not a robot. You were gonna delete your account. I'm like, I pay with the card, my email's verified, I have an
Yeah.
LLC. All of this is verified through X, yet they're like, "You're a robot, and now you're gonna get, shadow banned," and they won't even tell me what they're like, "You're
Ex-
spamming." I'm like, "What am I spamming? Explain to this to me." And they're like, "You have," because I had the most expensive premium account, it says,
Mhm.
"You can contact customer service." I tried, and it was all AI, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I'm like, "This is absolutely ridiculous." And I was like, "Yeah, other people are doing the same thing," and, like, algorithms are not our friends. That's what
No.
people need to realize too. They have been proven to manipulate people psychologically, lead people to suicide, lead people to
Yeah.
cheating. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting what these companies are doing.
Hmm.
It's it is so crazy, and just they're selling our data. And the other thing too is, like, you also, like, as a business owner, you wanna advertise your business, which is like, okay, everyone's online, you need to advertise through, social media. There's lawsuits against companies right now because you don't even know if you're actually showing your ads to humans, like, it's showing to bots. So you're literally paying AI to view your thing, so who knows how many people are, and that's why they're like, even on TikTok, they don't show you who views it. They're like, "Oh, well, they might have it censored." It's like, "Okay, yeah, I'm sure the 18,000 people I just paid to see this, how many of those are actually really humans?"
Yeah.
So we're trying to do it old school for advertising. Like, I printed over 1,000 brochures that are all US made because we're very US made oriented. All of our merchants gonna be US made, all of our envelopes,
Very cool.
everything. I mean, down to the very core. Like, that's why I took that job as fashion. It was all US
Hmm.
made. And we're gonna be, like, giving them out to restaurants or hotels, like, having those the people still go to those and look at the brochures. My kids do
Yeah.
all the time too. So gonna, put them in there, because it's free to advertise. You just talk to them and you put your little brochure in there, and I'm gonna do that. I have friends across the US who said, "Send them to me and I'll put
Yeah.
them out there for you."
You can send them to me too. I'm in downtown Tallahassee, so I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and, that's other ways to do that, and just word of mouth and, creating community. I was in a podcast last night, and they were saying that too. They're like, "The best way for business right now for our generations is just creating community and creating,
Hmm.
relationships," because
Yep.
that's more important to have a face behind these businesses, because most of these other businesses, huge monopolies, there's no face behind it, and if you do, like, they're questionable people, they're only there for the bottom dollar, they don't care about their users, and that's the same thing with apps. Like, I talk about this all the time, how, apps only make money because of their users.
Hmm.
Their community, that is why they have an app, that's why they're rich, that's why they're successful, is because of the content creators on the app that they abuse and treat like crap and take them for granted.
Hmm.
It's absolutely absurd, and then it's
Yep.
crazy people even defend them. I'm like, they're the reason why your company, your customers are. You need to respect them, you need to honor them, you need to give them the best damn product you can give them because they're the ones that are paying you. They're paying you with their money or their time, and that is very limited for people today, and I really believe that, that's why with our app too, like Mulberry Tree is the tree of liberty. Most people aren't aware of that, which today I hit 1776 followers. I was like, "Yes, the tree of liberty is today." And so most people aren't aware of that, the mulberry tree, and most people think it's just the bush because of the little kid song, around the mulberry bush.
Hmm.
mulberry trees can actually grow up to 80 feet.
I didn't know that.
They're, yeah, and they're very medicinal, and they, actually, like, one of our we go to a holistic doctor who's helped our son recover a lot, and his number 1 ingredient he uses is mulberries, and the mulberry tree and the leaves and stuff, and he's like, "That's so cool," and, like, really weird
Yeah.
synchronicity because, like, when I told him about the
Seriously.
app, he's like, that's one of my favorite herbs to use to help treat people." Also, the mulberry tree is one of the most abundant, fruit trees there are. There's enough fruit
Mhm.
for humans, there's enough food, for the animals, the birds, and there's enough food to replenish the soil, that the fruit falls down to the ground, and so it's so amazing, and, like, even silk, they use mulberries to create higher end silk because the mealworms use the mulberry leaves.
Really?
Yeah, and so there's different types of mulberries too. There's like white, pink, dark red, and they're absolutely delicious too. They look like
They
a
are.
blackberry, but they're like this long. It was really interesting too because when we bought our farm and we have 21 acres, and so we're just like running around looking, see what there is. Like we found a random pear tree,
That's
some
so
peach
fun.
trees,
That's like the
which is
most
really
underrated
yeah,
thing ever, yeah.
yeah, and, like, our kids love it, and, like, we found, like, an old abandoned house, that was completely demolished, just the foundation. There's, like, a well, we're
Yeah.
gonna get the well working. There's, like, a car that's, like, half broken and, like, all this
Really?
stuff out there. Yeah, it's really crazy,
Awesome.
yeah, and then once we figured out the app and stuff and got it going, and right before we launched, this summer, we have 3 mulberry trees on our driveway, which we drive every day down it, and it was the first year it bloomed.
Really?
And there was mulberry trees, like, all the fruit, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy, what a sign."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
what I was
we
thinking when you were
picked
saying that.
all of them, and the kids really liked them. They stain your fingers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really I was like, "How did we not know there was a mulberry 3 mulberry trees right there?" Because there's 2 males and a female right there.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
That's neat.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about faith in your journey and how it ties into farming. I self-admittedly, I grew up, I was kind of like we talked about on the phone yesterday. Florida has a pretty checkered past as far as being outlaws and criminals and cowboys, and that's kind of how we've rolled since forever. And that's
Yeah, Florida man. That's a meme.
a little bit, yeah. Um but, I self-admittedly, like, I didn't grow up, like, in the church or anything like that. Like, we were taught to respect people and, there's a lot of, like, Native American influence with, like, spirituality and those kind of things. So there was something there when I was growing up, but, as I've gotten older and gone through a lot of hard times like you were explaining too, you kinda just at some point, you're gonna get into a position where you're really gonna and I'm speaking to share your experience too, but for me, it was you get to a point where you're just like, I don't have anything left. Like it's all gone, right? Like what else are you gonna take? What are you gonna do? Like, and then you're just sitting there and it's like, how do you get up and do it?
Yeah,
And like I'm trying not to get emotional, but it's like I pray and I fall asleep every night. Like like there's been
yeah,
times where there are no other explanations why I'm still alive, where there were accidents or things that happened that I know for a fact that I should have died and I didn't.
yeah.
It's just like so I just wanted to like touch on that because I can hear from your story that I know that it's foundational to it, but I just wanted to give you a chance to share that with everybody too.
Yeah, it was I've had a very, very, very difficult childhood. I come from poverty. Not gonna get into all the details of just parents were druggies.
Right.
I mean, like, the worst of worst parents didn't protect us. Anyways, I became emancipated at 16. I worked full time while going to college. I mean, going to high school, finishing, I graduated top of my class. I had a perfect SAT on my math. Just it was all in the advanced classes, and I got a full ride to college. And I was like, I can do this. And it really gave me the to keep going. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like I was saying, like I met all the right people and I was putting my foot
Mhm.
in the door, and it really kept me going, and then for it to be completely taken away from me in an instant, I took birth control, and that's what, caused my cancer, and it was, try not to get pregnant and stuff,
Yeah.
being young and stupid, and I found out all the horrible things about cancer, and this actually led me on my path of being a crunchy, holistic person and eating healthier, organic, and everything. So it woke me up in a blessing in disguise type,
Yes, ma'am.
a horrible event, but it was very, very depressing because I was like, "Why? Why, God?" And I just kept asking that, and I was like, "This is so unfair," because, like, I had a full ride, and I was like but then even then, they were like, "Why are you even in college? You're wasting your time. You already have your foot in the door. Just, like, start a brand, start all this stuff," and I was, like,
Yes.
18 and, like, I was like, "I don't know what to do. This is crazy." I just kept getting told, go to college," and so that's what I did, and so it was, like, completely different, and then having it all completely taken away. I had to have emergency surgery to remove most of my cervix, and so it was, like, I mean, like, I went there not expecting to have surgery, neither did they,
Yeah.
and they were just like, "We need to remove most of your cervix," and I was just like, "Holy shit, like, what?" And it was literally just like,
Yeah.
"Wah," and, like, you see that in the movies, I could not comprehend what was going on, and I was there by myself.
Wow, man.
And I was bawling and, it's like I have PTSD from it. The lady showed me my cervix in a jar and, like, shook it in my face, and I was just like,
Really?
I wanted to vomit. Yeah, and this is common, I guess, like, they do this, and it's the abuse of, like, women in, like, healthcare, like, they didn't give me any pain meds or anything, they gave me Tylenol 3 afterwards, and that was it. So I had a surgery without pain meds because 'cause they're like, "Oh, it's fine."
How
And that's really common for people who have cervical cancer. They just cut it out without pain meds, and then you bleed, and they burn it and put silver on it.
I feel like that should not be legal.
I know, there are so many women who are trying to, like, stop this, and now they're finally, like, doing whatever, lidocaine and stuff like that
Yeah.
for it, or laughing gas during surgery. I don't it's insane, and so this was fine, and then,
Mhm.
so then 5 years later, I had a cancer checkup, and I was still cancer-free, but I still didn't have a cervix, and then miraculously, I got pregnant with my husband, and, it was really crazy because I was terrified. Because like, "Oh my gosh, I can't get pregnant." They keep telling me if I get pregnant, I'll die, or, like, my cancer will come back, like, I don't have a cervix, I'd have to have an abortion, and all this crazy stuff, so I was just, like, all over the place. I was crying because like, anytime I ever got pregnant, I would miscarry immediately, and so it was just like, "Why is this baby sticking? What's gonna happen?" I was like, "I'm not gonna get an abortion, like, we need to figure out something to do." I went into, I wanted to have a midwife, 'cause, again, because of everything, I had cancer, and I looked into, like, birthing and all this stuff,
Okay.
and I found a midwife, and they're like, "Well, we can't see you till," I think it was, like, 12 weeks or 10 weeks, how it was in Oregon, and I was like, "Well, I don't have a cervix, my doctor is, out of the country right now traveling,
Yeah.
so I need to see someone." They're like, "Well, of what you're telling us, you need to probably see an OB/GYN, and you're gonna be high risk, and you're probably gonna lose the baby because you don't have a cervix." And I was just like, "I just need to see someone." And I waited, I didn't miscarry, and I'm praying and praying to God, and I'm just like, "Please keep this baby." And, I went in and finally got seen, and they said they'll see me, but they're like, "Okay, well, you have to have OB/GYN care too and see all these other specialists." My cervix regrew back. Didn't know that was a thing, and I'm, like, bawling, and I'm like, "What?" And then she's like, "Are you sure you had cancer?" And I was like, "Yeah." 'Cause she's like, "Well, you have a cervix." And so my doctor, had to send all my medical records to my the OB/GYN and the midwives, and they're like, "Oh my gosh," and that's when they told me about cell migration.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm like, people need to stop saying that infants and fetuses are parasites because they send stem cells through your body to heal your body. And they send stem cells through your body to heal your body. There's tons of women who've had heart issues and they got pregnant. It helps heal their heart. And
Really?
so the baby wants to live. And so my cervix is mostly my oldest son's DNA. It regrew. It's phenomenal. And
That
so I
is
had all,
amazing.
yeah. And so this made me have a lot more faith back into God because of everything. And I was married previously
Mhm.
to a very abusive husband, and so I was grateful I didn't have children with him. So again, it's like I had children with the right people. You gotta go,
Yeah.
baby. With the right man. So and he's absolutely phenomenal, and I love him so much, and
That's amazing.
I'm the dreamer and he's the builder. And so he stood by me the whole time through this, and I had to get all these extra tests and just make sure my cancer didn't come back, and it was very stressful and scary. And I was high risk the entire time until they were like, "Okay, well, you're at the end of it. You don't have cancer. You can have a natural birth." All this stuff at the birthing center. They wanted to make sure I didn't have scar tissue. Unfortunately, I did, and they missed it, and I had to end up in the hospital in the emergency room with our first. And our midwife saved us from having a C-section, because I had scar tissue on the inside of my cervix. They couldn't see
Okay.
with the vaginal ultrasounds and over, and so they did this medication to break away the scar tissue, and I was able to
Really?
give him. Yeah, it was really painful, and I was in labor for 3 days with him, and they had to put me on Pitocin, and then I was allergic to it, and that was
Oh,
crazy, and it was like, my gosh, the hospital had the entire ward in my room, and watching me give birth to our first child, like, everyone was in there,
Lord
and
have mercy.
oh my gosh, and I gave birth to him, and he came out like this. So and he was, almost 9 pounds. I'm short, I'm 5'3".
Are you?
So I was and they're like, "He's gonna be a small baby, he's gonna be a small baby," and they were like he was really long too, and, the hospital staff and my midwife was like, "You are incredible to be able to do this." No, no, turn that off. Uh, so it was really scary and crazy for our first delivery, but, like and then our second, everything went really smooth. I don't have issues now giving birth, thankfully, and so they were kinda concerned because we gave birth to the same, midwives and stuff like that, at the birthing center, and it was beautiful and amazing. I got to have the birth I wanted with my first,
Yeah.
but I felt like I needed to go through that as well to see what I can overcome as well, and it was very difficult, but the whole time, I just prayed, and they were like, "We gotta cut him out, we gotta cut him out," and he was calm the entire time, and they were, like, so scared about it and he was born, he didn't even cry. He was just
Really?
looking at everybody, and they were like, "Is he okay?" And he was just, like, staring, and they spanked him to make
Really?
him cry, like, old-fashioned way. I was like, "Why'd you spank my
Yeah.
baby?" They're like, "We wanna make sure he was fine." I'm like, "He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
fine." And a little
That's
bit heavy.
amazing that he came out like that and was, like, looking at everybody.
Yeah, and it was
Wow.
dark other than the light down
Yeah.
there 'cause, I wanted it just dark and serene and calm, in which they were
Mhm.
super awesome. In Oregon, I loved that the midwives have, precedent over the hospital, and so they're still your primary care,
Yes, ma'am.
when you're there, unless there's an emergency that they can't handle, and then the hospital takes over, and they
Okay.
work side by side, which is really great. I really like that about Oregon. Unfortunately, Arkansas is not the same
Yeah.
best, but maybe I'll get there in the future. They're talking about in, like, Mississippi doing AI OBGYNs, which is absolutely crazy to me.
What?
Yeah,
I mean, like,
they're talking.
how does somebody how
I
does
know.
somebody sit down and let that come out of their mouth? Like, whew, I would have a lot of choice words for that person, whoever thought that that was okay.
Yeah, they're really pushing AI in the medical care system a lot now, and so it's really crazy. But that really, gave me perspective on, trusting God again. Because like, giving birth is one of the scariest things you can do as a woman, one of the scariest, and you have to give all your trust to God during your pregnancy, especially during birth. It's like the little death, that's what I call it, because you are reborn afterwards when you bring your baby into this world, and it is such an experience, and it's every pregnancy and every labor delivery is completely different, and it really shapes you completely different, and it's the same with my husband too, like, he's become a different dad after having the boys and having the daughter,
Hmm.
and, he's super soft with their daughter and hard with the
I have a
boys.
2-year-old daughter, so, like, that was I have a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, and so, it's just me and him for a while, and then she comes along, and it is, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not saying I'm not judging it or saying that there's anything negative about it. It is just it's like people who have kids and people who don't have kids. People who have kids understand what you're saying. People who don't understand. Until you have a girl, everybody told me like, "Well, you'll understand when you have one." And then it's like you cannot yeah, you can't wrestle with her. You can't, like but that's great. I love to hear that.
Yeah, he's going it's funny because he's soft with her, and he's just, like, has to, like, turn. She's a little manipulator, but in a cute way. She's, like, got her daddy wrapped around her finger, and I'm just like, "You don't do that." I'm stern with her. And then I'm softer with the boys, it's funny, and then he's harder with
Mhm.
the boys, so it makes
Yep.
sense, like, it creates this balance with them, but yeah, it is I cannot say that children are nothing but a blessing, like,
Oh, they're
I
the greatest thing
absolutely
ever.
love them, and especially everything I've gone through, and so that really reshaped my faith. Having my son go through what he did was another faith-rocking experience,
Mhm.
especially when you feel as a parent you do everything right. You gotta stay off the camera, please. You try to do everything right as a parent
Mhm.
and, do all the things that you tell you to do to make your kids as healthy as can be, and then they're sick, and it's like, "Why? Why us? Why my child?" And it was really, really scary, and I'm glad we had the doctors we had to help him get through it, and my husband just being like, "Do what we need to do. Money does not matter. Let's get him better." And, we had to put him on steroids for a year, and that was really
Wow.
hard. And, I got a lot of flack from people, like, "How dare you put your kids on steroids?" And I'm like, "My kid's gonna die if he doesn't, because he got mast cell on top of it, so he became allergic to almost everything, which is really common with alpha-gal and, tick-borne diseases, and, I mean, it really he could only eat, rice, chicken, and broccoli,
Goodness.
and it was just and that's so much for a child to endure, and
Well, and for you as a parent to have to watch it, I mean, that's
yeah, and it's your cortisol levels are so high. I was so
all the
sick and my
time.
body was keeping it together, and once he got better, my body crashed. I got so sick, and my doctor is like, "I was expecting you to come in here." He's like, "Sooner or later, once your son's getting better," because I saw him getting better, I was like, "It's your turn next," and I was like, "Oh my gosh,"
Wow.
and my liver just and I don't drink. I haven't
Right.
because I was been pregnant and breastfeeding, so I haven't drank for 10 years, and, when I stopped breastfeeding, I drank here and there, just like a glass of wine or something, not something that would affect my liver, and my liver was so bad from the stress, and it was so crazy. It was really alarming, and so he helped me get my liver back in shape before we got, pregnant again, and, um, but yeah, it was really crazy because people don't realize how bad stress affects your health too, even if you do all the right things, and so that was really hard, but, seeing my son get better and mixing with allopathic and Eastern medicine, I feel like there's a balance of things. There's a time and place for Eastern medicine and Western medicine. If you get a broken bone, you're going to go to the doctors, the hospital, they're going to set it and you have to do surgery. You can't go to, Eastern medicine to do that. And I feel, people are so black and white with things and forget the gray areas to help overcome things as well. And that has shaped my beliefs too. If anything, I feel more the Taoist belief too. It's like not fighting the currents and going with the currents and things of that nature. One second. Sorry.
No, no, you're fine.
Sorry.
You're
So
good.
anyway,
I had, like, my computer was about to die and the lights were turning different colors, so we're all good.
yeah, and so I think that shaped my, belief systems too, and, it softened me towards having that balance with medical too.
Yeah,
That is very big on spaces right now, how people eat and how their health and,
so much.
not listening to people's experiences, especially when it comes to children, that people just pass judgment very quickly and not actually, listen. Because a lot of people are like, "Why didn't you try this, and this for your child?" I'm like, "We have tried everything and anything," and, I have to put my kid on steroids, and I don't know why that is such a bad thing, and it was a temporary thing, and, it kept my child alive, and he's doing a lot better now, and he can eat anything.
Yeah. So you did the right thing, and you I just as a side note, I'm totally not into telling someone else how they should raise their kid. Just like fundamentally on the principle of I don't want somebody walking into my house and going, "You're not doing that the right way." Like if
Yeah,
kid's not screaming, if you know what I mean, like in that instance, you're doing what you should as a parent to give him the opportunity to get better. So for I'm just like I get real defensive about that because like when you're trying to do what you think is right as a parent, I get really put off by people who question you as the parent of your kid doing what you think is right. Because I feel like that's your God given right, right? 'Cause that's why you are the parent of them.
yeah.
Obviously there's instances where if you're not treating your kids the right way, then you deal with that. But when you're trying to get your kid healthy and people are throwing shade at you, I just kudos to you for doing the right thing and sticking to your guns.
It's crazy too, because that's what's, the isolating part of it, because people don't wanna just be there for you, and it's not even like they're giving advice, it's like concern trolling, there's another word for it too.
That's a good. I haven't heard that one. That's a good word though.
But yeah, it was and, like, we got emu, ostrich, all these, like, really high quality meats too,
Yeah.
for him. We didn't do, like, alternative cheeses or anything like that,
Mhm.
which has, like, a lot of the, carrageenan in it, which, alpha-gal people cannot have because it mimics alpha-gal. I mean, I cooked everything from scratch. We never ate out when he had it, like, all of us and stuff, but like I said, he had it the worst, and it was it's crazy to me because it's like people have their own paths as long again, like what you're saying, as long as you're not jeopardizing your child's health
Yeah.
and safety, like, then yeah, like, do your best as you can and try to get them better. But yeah, it was a very, very, depressing time,
Can't
and
imagine.
that's when we also found out one of the people we were working with, who we hired, like I told you, our friend,
Yeah.
ripped us off thousands and thousands of dollars, who was supposed to build our app. We found out I mean, like, I understand with, like, rain as it pours, we found out on Father's Day that he made up everything, and this my son was, like, at his sickest, and then
Whew.
our cat died, and it was just like, I mean, I was on my hands and knees begging God to
Yeah.
stop all of this, and I was like, "Why? Why is this happening to our family?" Like, people were
Mhm.
like, "You guys are cursed, your land's cursed, like, you need to get your house blessed," like, I mean, like, all this stuff, and it was so crazy, like, I can't even, like, fathom and put everything in perspective, like,
Yeah.
what happened when we first moved here, and a lot of people too told me, like, the Ozarks has this, like, thing where you move here and you have, like, 3 years of tribulation or 2 years or whatever,
Really.
and then everything gets better, and it's like separating the chaff from the wheat, and I was like, "Well, if that's true, I completely agree with that because we went through it so bad," and
Yeah.
I mean, like, everyone's, like, moved back home to Oregon, and, it was just I don't know. I feel the only way we got through this is just my husband and me, just, like, one day at a time, sometimes 1
Mhm.
hour at a time,
Yeah.
and just coming together, and it's really hard to with marriages when you have a sick child because it's just so much stress. Everything is so stressful, and most people, it's like 80% of people get divorced when you have a sick child, which is so devastating because like you need to be there together for your child. They need you more than ever. And it's like we just had to keep repeating that to ourselves, like our child comes first right now. Everything else doesn't matter. Like, we can fix this later and, like, because then everyone's agitated, your cortisol level's higher, everyone's, like, nitpicky with each other, and
Right.
that's really hard, and it's like, that's where, community and grace comes into play and being forgiving and having humility because it's like everyone wants to point fingers to each other and not be like, "Well, what am I doing wrong in my marriage?" Where I'm pissed off, I'm not sleeping, I'm being agitated and nagging or something like that and let it go and just apologize and move forward. And honestly, like we've been together, married for 10 years now. And no, 11 years. Sorry, my bad. Thank you. I'm like, time's a blur.
You're still
Our
together.
marriage has never been stronger after all of this. It's phenomenal. Like, and it was so hard during all of this. And now it's like, man, we went through fire. We went through hell and back, and we went through this. And okay, it's time to breathe and let's do this for other people too. Like let's help other people. Like that's why I said, like, we have the over 300 alpha gal recipes because it's like most people are like, what do you eat? What do I eat? Even like chicken cannot be safe or ground chicken, ground turkey because they put additives in it in the store and you don't know. And like it's making
Mhm.
people sick. And so that's like, okay, well, you can source it from your local farmer. There's no additives, no crap in it. And then just doing that with everything and getting people healthier with food. And food is not just the only equation, as we just spoke about.
Absolutely.
I think that is something too, like, our country is lacking is humility and, like, just saying sorry, and that's what you were saying too earlier, it's just, like, having those manners and just being
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I'm at fault, like, what am I doing wrong in our world that can create ripple effects too?" 'Cause it's that whole saying, like, "Be the change you wanna be,"
For sure.
like, okay, well, we can do that with our app and our personal lives and our community. And then, it starts at home, then starts in your community, starts in your city, starts in your state, and then starts in the country and starts in the world. Like it's just this micro to macro thing. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you find so I was curious what you're talking about when your child was sick. Did you find that when both you and your husband focused on helping your son that like a lot of the did it help ease the stress at all? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So Like, we had to have our child sleep in our room at
Yeah,
all times because he would, like, stop breathing at night.
really.
And, have to use, antihistamines, his inhaler, like, all this stuff. We were very close to EpiPenning him a couple times, we had to carry an EpiPen at all times with him. Thankfully, we never got to that point because the other rescue medications worked so he didn't have to be EpiPenned. There was a couple times where, like, okay, we're, like, at that point, but then he was like, boom, he got out of it, and it was just very, very scary, and there's a lot of people who are like, "You always have to put the parents first and not the kids," and I was like, when you have a sick child, you'll completely understand where your children come
Mhm.
first. Like, everything else does not matter, especially when they're like, you don't want them to die. And that's not something no parent wants to go through.
For sure.
But yeah, just putting them first, it was hard, for our older child too, because he had to witness his little brother be so
Yeah.
sick, and, he's seen because he was, left out a lot, but we still gave him love because I stayed home, but still, it's like, okay, so he had to sleep alone and, scared and, like, all this stuff,
Right.
and, we gave him comfort as what we could, but, you have so much time you have, and he tells us now, he's 10, and he's like, "You guys are the best parents ever because you help my little brother so much and how much you guys care about us." And
Yeah.
it's such, like it makes me cry because 'cause I'm just like, I had really horrible parents, and to hear my kids tell me that, and they're just like, "I love you guys so much, and you guys are
Yeah, it's the
amazing
great
parents," and, like,
yeah,
it's
that's the greatest
it's
thing
so
ever.
worth it, and, like, yeah, sorry.
No, no, you're good. I just wanted so to give you a minute, I was having a conversation with my best friend the other day, and his kids are a little bit younger, and he was talking about him getting older and things, and, we were not to go off on too of a much of a tangent, but it kinda ties into what we're talking about, but appreciating our families and everything. Think I've noticed, he and I have noticed that there's an older generation, like, it would be like our parents, right? Like, going through things that you went through. We all like, I feel like our generation has been like 9/11, COVID, the internet, you can literally write a list of things that really, like, were earth-shattering, that changed everything, and the response to it by everybody involved was wild, right? Like, so it's been a pretty rough road, and then you add layers, like, of the things that you went through, having cancer, your kids being sick, and trying to do the right thing, and it just your headwinds are just building, that there's a disconnect between our generation and theirs, where we are so focused on being grateful every day. Like,
Yeah,
every day's a gift. The point I'm trying to get to is, like I was telling him, was like, "Man, one of my kids are with me, like, I'm all over them." And when I say all over them, I mean, like, I'm telling them I love them every 5 minutes, like, because it's like you're really genuinely, it's a miracle when you're walking around every day. People don't take it for granted. Like, I didn't have the illness that you had, but I had an event happen to me where, like, the doctors literally were like, "Dude, you're supposed to die. Like, you're gonna die." Right? But, like, it takes something like that where your perspective shift goes and you're like, "All right, like, I am genuinely not guaranteed coming back from going to get gas or
yeah.
going, like, going to meet somebody. Like, anything is possible at any time." And it just, I know I went off on a tangent there, but that's something it's so critical to everything, family, farming. It's like it all ties together. So just
It
kudos
does.
to you guys.
People are, with farming too, I'm glad my kids get to be raised on a farm on top of this,
Hmm.
because it really puts perspective, the cycles of life, living within nature. I
Hmm.
love those sodas, by the way. They're
It's the
great.
real. I've got them for my kids, and now we drink them all the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I used to make my own soda when I had time, and
Really?
those are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fermented soda and everything from stuff off our farm and stuff.
That's
We
awesome.
have sassafras trees and stuff, so make
Sweet.
homemade root beer. But yeah, it's crazy too, cause like, we have all the goats, and we've lost goats.
Mhm.
We've lost rabbits, chickens, and my kids have seen it. They help with dad, processing the animals for us to eat.
Right.
A lot of kids don't see that. A lot of kids don't really understand where their food comes from, what it takes to raise food, and people also think that farmers don't care about their animals now too either, like, big agriculture and, like, all that stuff because of PETA pushing all that stuff, I
Yep.
understand, but, like, generally, the most farmers in our country, we take so much pride in our animals and our land, and, it hurts us every time we lose an animal, and, like, I lost one of my goats, she was only about a year old, year and a half old. Some
Yeah.
people drop them off on our farm,
Really?
her mom and her brother, and she was pregnant, and they had goat pox, and they were very, very sick, and I saved their lives, and they infected our entire herd, and because we
Jeez.
free range, and, I got all of them better, but so I got her from the brink of death because she was very sick, all of them were, and, like, I mean, they had it all over their face and stuff, and surprisingly, she didn't lose her baby because she gave birth, and we had no idea she was pregnant either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lost her daughter, and she died in my arms, and and this was during the crazy cold stuff.
Really?
2 weeks ago, she died, and, we had her in the house, and she got double lung pneumonia, and, like, nothing was getting rid of it, and it was way too cold, so we brought her in, and she just crashed that night, and I could tell she was gonna pass away because you can
Yeah.
just tell with your animals when you're close to them
Right.
too, and she died in my arms, and I'm, like, super pregnant, emotional, and I'm just, like, bawling, and I was just like, "Man, this is the hard parts of farming, because even if you're gonna like, we're gonna eat her, she's gonna be a milk goat when she got older, and
Mhm.
but, like, it's hard, it's so hard when you lose an animal, even if you're gonna process them later, it's like, that's the time, money, effort you put into them, that's taking food off your plate for your family too, there's so many layers into it, even if they're not pets or you're close to them, like, that's a lot of things people ignore
Mhm.
when it comes to farming, because a lot of it's just glamorized on the internet, like, "Oh, look how beautiful everything, there's no bad things that happen," and that gets people into farming, and they wanna give up because when it gets hard, they're like, "Oh my gosh," and that shatters their faith too on farming, and I think that's really disingenuous that people are doing this with social media content because it's like, that's what sells, and that's not how farming is,
No.
And we see that with seasons, there's birth, there's the
Mhm.
growing, and then there's the falling down of the leaves, and then there's the death of winter, and then you have the rebirth again, and it's the cycles, and our children see that and experience that more. You don't do that, like what you said, the concrete jungle, like living in the concrete jungle. You don't, everything's just gray, and living in a farm helps you put things in perspective and regains your strength and God's purpose too. So seeing how things are supposed to play out. And I think that's really important. And so many people have lost their ways away from that, and because of convenience and because of social media, and I get it too, because like life is so hard. So people want to live vicariously through other
Yeah.
people in this like beautiful fake world through like Instagram reels or Facebook. They're like, that could be my life. It could be perfect. But then they don't take goals to like make it work like that. And it's very they feel good in the moment when they're online, it's addicting, and then when they get off and they're back in their concrete jungle, and they get really depressed and sad, and they're like, "Why am I so sad and depressed?" And then, it's this fake community online, and people are so much more connected today, but we're so much more divorced. We're not
For sure.
having these things, and it's, like, crazy, like, the amount of divorce, the amount of people having children outside of marriage, it just creates these, again, more ripple effects, the lack of community. People don't see their kids, they just ship them off, and then, it's hard for everybody, and I'm not saying this is bad or anyone's at fault for this,
Mhm.
because that's just the society we were given, and, I think it's just bringing that back, slowing things down, connecting back to our roots, to our farmers, to our food. More people are understanding how bad our food is,
It's
with the
bad.
MAHA movement. Yeah,
I didn't
people
even realize how bad it was personally, and I was trying to pay attention, but it just I it's unbelievable.
like with honey, for example, most honey is not real honey, in the stores, and they like water it down. Same with olive oil. Like most olive oil is rancid. If people don't like the taste of rancid, unless you get like actual we buy our olive oil, like a gallon of it
Mhm.
from my organic California grower. I mean, the first time I ever had it, I was like, this is what olive oil tastes like.
Yeah.
I was like, "This is amazing, it's so good," and I was like and then you taste olive oil from the store, it's rancid, and it's bad for you to eat, and it causes inflammation, and, so, like, yeah, like, most olive oils aren't even real olive oil or it's rancid in the store, and then, there's this another farmer who he's testing maple syrups right now, and I follow him on X, and he's like,
Mhm.
"Most of these aren't maple syrup." Even though it says 100% maple syrup, it's watered down. It has corn syrup and all this other stuff in it, and, like, that's even thing too, people are talking about, like, pumpkin, like, pumpkin pie during Thanksgiving. Most canned pumpkin is not pumpkin, it's just a squash, and that's why there's, like, different colors, so it doesn't matter, like, there's these crazy laws and regulations that these companies don't care about because 'cause they're just for their bottom dollar. They don't care about the people who are making their money, like, you're as I was saying earlier, your customers are the most important people, and they just abuse us, like, it's sick. But yeah, it's so crazy, and then you have, people are talking about how all these, grocery stores right now are cutting, shrinkflation. They're like, "Oh, this is supposed to be 3 pounds of ground beef." They weigh it, it's 2
They've
pounds.
been doing that. They like, tried to share the story on X, and, it's I'm gonna do an episode where I kinda, like, go through my whole backstory and explain all this stuff, and really, like, do deep dive segments too, where I really share with people how that stuff works, and like I shared with you yesterday,
Yeah,
when I was on the inside of Tropicana and Pepsi, I'll tell you a story. I was at So we had greening come in, and greening's this horrible disease. It's killed the Florida citrus industry, and I'll never forget it. I was at the Publix in Lake Placid, Florida, and I'm walking past the juice section, and Paul Fabry, one of the most infamous growers, one of the best, great, great grower, good person, all around good guy, calls me, and he is mad. Like, he is hot. And I'm like, there's no reason. I'm confused why he's mad. And he's like, why did y'all do that? I'm like, what did we do? So, like, ironically, I'm standing looking at the bottles of orange juice while I'm talking on the phone to him. And he goes, how many ounces is the bottle? I'm like, all right, let me look. So I look, and they changed the ounces of the bottle from 59 to 53, and the price went up, and it doesn't say it anywhere. It doesn't, like, you had to turn it. The point I'm trying to make is that they do that all the time. They've been doing it. And even for somebody, as like somebody who is keenly aware of it, when COVID happened, till now, like, this is how blatant it is. I could go by. Now, granted, I have a photographic memory, right? Like, I have pictures in my head where I remember things. I could go by and tell you by looking at the bag that it was thinner. And you could pull out, like, go grab some saltines. The saltines are thinner. Like, and I'm just like, you guys have got to pay attention, because you have to understand that they are not required to tell you. Like, we have this perception of, like, well, they have to tell us. No, they don't. They don't. When you purchase that, you're making an agreement that you will consume that. And, like,
yeah.
I could go down a whole giant rabbit hole. I mean, it was in, like, when you're on the inside of it and you realize that those companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year suing each other over verbiage on a bottle to try to get somebody to go out of business. Or, is it from Brazil? Is it mixed juice? Is it fresh from Florida? Is it 100% juice? Is it 100% Florida juice? And you're just like, you just go, okay, there's nothing that's in here is what I think it is at all.
Imagine if they took that money and invested it into their consumers and their farmers.
Yes.
And, like, instead of advertising, it's like, take that money, that millions of dollars you spend,
Hmm.
and making a better product. It's so
I mean, like,
disgusting.
we would, and when I say, like, this was mind blowing to me, like, I'm a farm kid, right? I was a field man. Had an office 3 hours away in the Everglades where I was with the growers, and we would have meetings where we would go, like, you name, like, what you think you'd see in a TV show or a movie. Like, we go sit with the scientists, and you taste test it, and you fill out a sheet of paper and all of those things. And I remember, like, I would tell them all the time, like, if you guys really want to win and you guys really want to be the orange juice company that you think you are, you have to you have to go back to being just orange juice, take all your money of whatever you're doing, and just it's 100% Florida,
Yeah.
100%. You have to focus on making it for the kids, because the kids are and I don't mean that to sound like, because it sounds like, I'm trying to target a sale. That's not what I mean. But, like,
No, it's true though. Our kids
yeah.
are the most susceptible to being sick, and, like, they have smaller bodies, like,
Hmm.
it's the
Yeah.
kids are the ones who are drinking the orange juice and apple juice and stuff.
And they were like, oh, that's crazy. Why would we focus on the kids? And I was like, all right.
why?
I get it. I get it now. Okay. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy, like, and that's something that really drives me bonkers is, like, the older generations are like, "I ate it and I was fine." It's like, your ingredients were completely different than what we have, it's like they spray glyphosate on grains to make them dry faster so they don't mold. Glyphosate, like, that's making us sick, and they're trying to get 100%, government protection so people can't sue them if they get cancer or anything like that or have any illnesses. And it's
Sounds
like
ironically identical to what they did with the COVID vaccine.
yeah, so,
That's my opinion. I mean,
yeah, so, it's really scary that a company could have that much protection over people's health and the environment. And it's so scary and like, our government's like, we're gonna protect the farmers, but they're only talking about big agriculture. Thomas Massey's trying to pass Prime Act and they're just like, shut up, Massey. And like Prime Act, if people don't know, it's where farmers they can take their animals, take it to a state ran facility to butcher, not USDA companies, which a lot of those are really corrupt
yep.
and really hurt small farmers. You can go into a whole shenanigans into that. And then sell directly to their consumers so they can sell parts. Like they don't have to sell the whole cow. They can sell, just ground beef or steak, ribeyes, things like that, which would help save American farmers. Yet crickets, and it's absolutely crazy how corrupt our food is. And, everyone wants to blame the farmers for the price of beef and chicken and everything like that. It's these main companies that are price fixing and, a lot of them have illegal child slave labor at them and they're just fined. It's like, well, they didn't hire them. They had someone outsource to hire the children and force them to work. It's okay. They're just going to it's the price of paying business. Here's a $5 million fine. Like, it's absolutely disgusting that this is where our food is. It's coming from slavery, like child slavery at that. And that alone should drive people to want to support their local farmers and not these horrible companies. But yeah, it's really sad that this is happening. And I'm glad because of online, people are becoming aware of this and people are like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to support these companies.
Mhm.
I want to do better for my family, for our environment, for these local farmers. But again, it's like and then it's sad too, because then there's people are like, well, I'm going to take advantage of these farmers. You have to pay me listing fees to be on my website. Or, and like only people who like farmers and other farmers are going to see that. Normal general people aren't, and that's a huge problem too, because like people are so disconnected from the farmers. So it's like you have to know local your meat. And that's the same thing too. Like you can Google US made stuff and it's not going to show you, they're really trying to hurt American companies. And so that's a huge reason too, like why we created our app. It's like, okay, that's bringing the food people back to the farmers, like directly connecting them, and same with the chefs. And so people are actually like, okay, well, all there's so many recipe apps and like recipe websites, but they don't do that. They're like, you can buy it from the grocery store.
Right.
And they have millions of downloads. And if we get millions of downloads, like we said, we just launched last month, that's going to change everything.
For sure.
Because then like these other companies, it's like, screw them. Like they just have crap recipes and like, they're not like, they have millions of dollars to throw around and they're not trying to help again people. And so that is where we can come into play. Hey, dogs. Sorry, one second. I have 2 Shiba Inus. They're not dogs. They're like cat dogs, and he likes to start stuff. So anyways, but yeah, it's really crazy. And so once we get to that point, people will be able to source it better. We get more farmers on there. It's just going to create this huge ecosystem where it's like, okay, we don't need to use the grocery stores anymore, And if you need to, because the farmers don't have what they have in their area, they can actually go to the grocery store through Instacart on our app once we get more and more people onto the app and people are doing word of mouth and
Mhm.
we start doing more marketing and it's going to really blow up. And I think it's going to really change how people look at food, people look at farmers. And
For sure.
that's like our slogan is know your farmer, know your food.
Absolutely.
It's so important because if you know your farmer, you shake their hand, you know what they're doing on their property, you know what they're feeding their animals, you know what you're putting in your body and what you're putting your ingredients in your food. Right now people don't know like dunk, like, chicken in, like, a bleach solution,
Mhm.
or they pump it up with water to make
Yep.
it fatter, and it's just so, like,
It's
chewy
a
and
game.
gummy.
It's a
You
money
get
game.
chicken from a local farmer, you don't have to eat as much. It fills you up, it's
Exactly.
more nutritious, the meat is actually has texture to it, it's not like a sponge. People would be like, "Wow, this actually tastes good." Same thing, like, with tomatoes. You can buy a tomato at the
Mhm.
store, and it has, like, no flavor to it. It's just like water. You grow a tomato in your own land, it's so flavorful, juicy, and it's just like, "Wow, this is, like, so saturated," like, not saturated, just, like, it's so delicious, and you're just like, "Wow, this is so good." And you don't have to eat as much either. Like, that's, another thing I was talking on another podcast was, we think about starvation in other countries. These people are very skinny. They're very malnourished, but we are starving in our country, but we're fat.
Mhm.
And it's so weird because people don't think, oh, well, Americans aren't starving because they're overweight. It's a huge epidemic in our country, which, Kennedy keeps talking about it. Most people are starving from nutrients. 98% of people don't have enough vitamin D. Like, that's a form of starvation, and, like, you're not getting all the nutrients. Like, an apple 50 years ago compared to an apple today is the nutrient level is completely different. And that again goes to back to what the older people are like, "Well, I ate it and I was fine." It's like, "Well, your food was higher quality than ours."
Right.
And because of mass agriculture and farming. So it's like if you buy from your local farmer these apples, they're going to take care of their orchards more and actually replenish the soil, and you're going to have a better nutrient dense apple that's healing for your body. Otherwise, you're just eating empty calories. And it's the
Mhm.
same thing too with like a lot of beef. It's absolutely crazy the corruption in it. And that's the same thing too. They're like, with beef, they're like, "Oh, there's shortages of beef right now, and that's why the prices are expensive," while we're exporting billions of pounds of beef, billions to
Mhm.
other countries, and we're doing the top tier beef in the US that we raise here, and we're letting them go to another country. It's like, why aren't we feeding our own country first? Like, we should be oriented in small communities, feeding our country first, and I believe in America first. Screw everyone else right now. We need to fix
Yep.
our own problems. It's like, you don't go like, if your house is burning and your neighbor's house is burning, you don't go to your neighbor's house and put out their fire. You put out your own fire first. And that needs to happen here. Like, and that starts at home and with our food.
Yeah, and I think what you guys are doing is that's you think what those CEOs and everybody, the bureaucrats and the regulators and all of that the whole system is based on the assumption that people aren't aware that they can circumvent that really simply, like by just walking down the street or establishing a relationship with somebody and literally just avoiding that entire complex. And I wanted to just touch on a couple more points and then we can wrap it up. But I want, people to understand that like this isn't, with the 24-hour news cycle and the way everything is fed to people. I've noticed this in relationships I have in life that people when you address something or you say, "Hey, we need to fix this," the normal most reaction you're going to get from most people is, "Well, it just happened today." That's not true. Like you're going back to 2022. Farmers were in trouble in 2022. It's 2026 now, and it's getting worse, right? Like it is such a big problem that people need to understand that like it didn't happen overnight. Like we're way down the trail. This is
It's
not.
multi-generational. It's not even just
Yes.
2022. It's been an ongoing death of a thousand cuts.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm trying to focus on is like the financial side of it. Like like they're
Yeah.
leaning on subsidies, and the banks are telling them they're not going to they're going to collateralize everything they own, or we're not going to give you an operating loan. Like people don't understand that almost a lot of farms work on an operating line. Like they have to go get approved every year. Like banks control farming and they
Yeah.
control farming politics, which controls the money, and the money controls, like so I wanted to make those points so people kind of have like a bigger understanding of like it is what you think it is. It is a big problem. It is set up for the people at the top to make the money and to keep people, like you said, to your points about the apples and the tomatoes and the beef, like it's to keep you coming back to get more because it doesn't actually give you what your body needs naturally. So I just wanted to touch on those three things, and hopefully that ties into the app and what you guys are trying to do. But I did want to say thank you so much for your time. I know you're 40 weeks in.
Yeah. 40 weeks this Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. He's been trying to come since 37 weeks, so it's
Yeah.
just give or take.
No, I just wanted to like sincerely say thank you for taking the time. I'm super glad that you reached out yesterday.
Yeah,
I I could not be more excited to help you any way I can. I genuinely mean that. There's farmer markets and things around here, and I have a network in the Southeast that I know people will jump on and
awesome.
support this. So I'm really excited to do that.
Thank you, really, seriously.
Yeah, no, and I like your story. I really relate to it. Like I went through hard time, nowhere near what you guys did. So that's why I really support your story. It's inspirational. I think it's just amazing. So I just want you to know that you got a friend in me. I'm on your team, and I got your
Thank
back.
you. Vice versa, I appreciate it.
So I just wanted to say that, and I wanted everybody to hear that because I genuinely feel that way. So thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to doing another episode probably in the summer when
Okay, yeah.
the baby's around.
Thank you so much, Ryan, I really appreciate it.
Yep,
Really enjoyed
absolutely.
our talk.
Thank you.
Yeah. Alright, bye.
Thanks for connecting our fields to your forks with us today on Farmstrong. Every day is your God given opportunity to change the world. So be the change that you want to see in the world. Share your questions and guest suggestions at farmstrongpodcast@gmail.com. Special thank you to Casey Brown of Teal Hat Communications for producing this podcast. More importantly, thank you for investing your time in this podcast and taking the time to connect to your agricultural industry. This is the Farmstrong Podcast. Work hard, be honest, speak proudly.